England are in trouble. In big trouble. Big, big, big trouble. Now, the last two games we've just witnessed them play over the last week have seen England's weaknesses continue to show. A 1-0 loss to Italy, who didn't qualify for the World Cup, mind you, lost to Macedonia, North Macedonia, and then a 3-3 draw with probably the worst Germany a lot of us have seen for a while. Where to start? Where to start? Well, as we all know, England, for the last couple of years, have actually found it quite difficult to score a lot of goals. One of the biggest weaknesses of Southgate's reign as England manager has been his lack of ability to make the talented attacking players that England have at their disposal combine together to produce a magical chemistry capable of, scoring when it needs be. Of course, you could say 10-0 San Marino, but playing at San Marino shouldn't even really count, let's be honest. But anyways, I'm drifting away from the point. These two games were meant to be, the warm-up games, build hype, build confidence before the tournament starts. A good idea, a good picture to see, where England are going to be in 53 days' time. Well, by the time this comes, it'll be 52. But unfortunately, what it's done is just proven that England are not ready to win this tournament in Qatar. That's just the harsh reality of it. Southgate is taking this country very far in these years in charge. But unfortunately, it can be seen here that he lacks the flexibility, the tactical competence. He had two major opportunities in his last campaign. And we have to look at the positives because England have never been this consistent over a period of time, probably in their history. Semi-finals of the World Cup, finals of the Euros, it's consistency. England are getting to the serious end of tournaments, and that's something we're not used to. We've been quarter-final merchants up until, Southgate came through. And he's done a really good job rebuilding the confidence, rebuilding the faith that people have in this team. And in England's success at major tournaments, because it felt like we were cursed and people were giving up. But he's renewed hope. But what's frustrating is that they were getting that position. 1-0 up against Croatia, Trippier free kick. 1-0 up against Italy, Luke Shaw volley. Two beautiful goals. Yeah? But instead of to kill the game off or try to kill the game off, they just sat back, let the team grow in confidence, and Italy and Croatia are not teams to be messed around with. And of course they both came back into the game and inflicted heartbreak. If these are very avoidable, I wouldn't say avoidable, but they were avoidable in a tactical sense where he could have definitely done more to, encourage the players to continue to play like how they were playing to get their goal in the first place in both games. But I don't want to hang too much on the history and on the past. Of course, you can learn from the mistakes you made and then continue to evolve and to develop. That's a sign of a great coach. That's what we've seen the likes of Guardiola and Klopp do. In their situation, it was obviously international football is different, but you can learn from your mistakes as a manager. It's a basic. It's a basic of like developing as a human being, even learning from your mistakes and then being able to apply what you've learned to then improve yourself and to improve people around you. Now, in Southgate's case, it's quite clear to see that he's made the same mistake twice in two major tournaments. So you would think maybe by now he would have learned and tried to fix the problems that were there, because we know England do not score. Despite the fact they've definitely become very far in the defensive end, England do not score goals. And obviously, although the game that we just watched yesterday was a 6-goal thriller, yeah, that's more of the fact that Germany are probably the weakest team in that Nations League group, which is mad for me to say, outside of England. Hungary have surprised a lot of people, don't get it twisted. But Germany were the only team that conceded goals to England in the whole group stage, which to me is a madness. It's a madness. Like, how's that happened? But honestly, this Nations League group was an opportunity for England to kind of impose themselves and to build up momentum and form before the tournament started. Because, even though you can call them glorified friendlies and people, including fans and players, have a lot to say, which is quite negative about the Nations League and what it really means to them. It's a new tournament and it's going to take some time to embed within the culture of football, but I think you'll be fine. It's better to at least have something to fight for rather than just play a whole bunch of meaningless games. At least you could say there's something at risk here, something to play for, something to compete for. And England in this campaign were terrible. They played 6 games, Didn't win any of them. Drew 3 and lost the other 3. For a team of England's calibre and quality, that should never be happening. Ever. Ever. Now, Southgate needs to make some changes and he needs to make them fast. But historically, we know this man doesn't make changes. From the moment that we all saw the squad picked for these 2 games, we knew disaster was incoming. The likes of Shaw and Maguire getting in, players that you could say didn't deserve to make the squad based on their club form, but you could say deserve to play because of the international form. Now, obviously, it's always a sticky debate when discussing, a player in form for his club should play for his country, but if one player never lets down his country, why does he deserve to be out of the squad? It's a debate, and it's a tough one that Southgate is definitely wrestling with here. But, people are wondering why the hell didn't Benjamin White make the squad? And other players as well. Jadon Sancho. And, those 2 players in particular have been amazing for their countries, but they've been solid for their clubs, and you could say they deserve the shout, just like Ivan Toney earned his call-up, and then ended up not playing a single minute, so what was the point of him being called up? But anyhow, I digress. The harsh reality of it all is that England look primed to make the same mistakes they made in previous tournaments, but worse. Instead of getting out in the semi-finals or the finals, they might lose before that. I'm not going to say when, but they might lose before that. The group seems simple enough, but boy, oh boy, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves in this form that England are in. The 6 games they've played, and they've not won any of the last 6 games, and they only scored in 2 of them, I think. Yeah, in 2 of them, the Germany games. So honestly, it's not the way you want to be entering a major tournament. They're not going to have any more games to prepare. Now, in the game itself against Germany, it felt like a spark was, reinvigorated within the side. I don't think I see England score that many goals in a while. I'm not counting San Marino, by the way. I guess this did score 3 in the friendly match against Ivory Coast, I believe. But, again, it gets to, quality opposition. I say quality opposition. Germany and Ivory Coast might be the same level. I'm joking. One qualified for the World Cup, one didn't. But honestly, it looked really bleak for England when they were 2-0 down, and props to them. Saka came on, changed the game pretty much. England scored 3 goals, got into the lead, and then Nick Pope. It's a shame because I bet he's my choice for number 1 for the World Cup, but he might have squandered his chance now, to be honest. Pickford will just slot back in there from injury and be there for the World Cup, to be honest. But I still think he's a good backup. But yeah, his error allowed Havertz to score twice, and it's quite mad because obviously I was watching the game with Lil Bro. Lil Bro was pissed because he's thinking, this Havertz don't turn up for Chelsea. Boy, oh boy, this Havertz was a different Havertz. I don't know what it was, but he seems to thrive, and he seems to thrive as a false 9 for Germany. Maybe you could say he's surrounded by more quality players and players that maybe suit that system for him, compared to Chelsea, who are perpetually trying to find a front line that works. But honestly, the first goal was pure class, pure quality. The guy has quality oozing out of him, but it's just a matter of consistency and being able to put that in, game out, and also to be able to cope with the physicality of the Premier League. But honestly, he's a quality player, but he can be. He was a wonder kid in the Bundesliga, and they produce a lot of those. And then they replaced him with a wonder kid. What's his name? Wirtz. But honestly, it was a class goal, and Germany, you could say, deserved the lead. And England, once again, looked at how they did against Italy. Very pedestrian, lack of creativity, despite having Phil Foden, Harry Kane and Sterling up front, with Bellingham, in midfield. It's quite crazy, and I don't think the 3-4-3 suits England, and I don't know why Southgate continues to do this. I mentioned this in the OG episode of Mini Football Logic, and literally I was talking about how this does not fit and how they should employ another system. I think I said a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, a system that more shines on the players' abilities and allows them to play a much more attacking style of play, because a team like England shouldn't be playing the football they play. Very pedestrian, that's the way I see it. They can set up to play a lot of systems, and I think Southgate showing that he's not really a flexible manager in terms of the tactical options he brings to his players, and he tries to coach with his players. You tell that 3-4-3 system occasionally, counter-attacking basically. And I feel like that England team is capable of so much more. I get it, we don't have a guy in the midfield that can control games, like how Italy got Verratti and Jorginho, Spain got everybody. They got young Gavi coming through, young Pedri coming through, Sergio Busquets been there for a while, he and OG. They've got players to control games for days. And then France got their Pogba, you know, honestly, and Kante, and, and Chouameni and Camavinga, boy, oh boy. But yeah, of course, England don't have those type of players. Bellingham could become that type of player in the future if he continues to develop. Right now, he looks like a dynamic box-to-box player, you know what I mean? Declan Rice just hasn't shown that he can control games like this in the big matches, even though he's good at what he does. Let's not get it twisted. But he's not that type of player, let's be honest. Yeah, again, similar to Bellingham in a sense where he's very dynamic, likes to carry the ball forward. And, you need to have someone there that can pass it around, like a really good version of Harry Winks. That's why when Harry Winks broke through for England, everyone was heralding him as a very crucial player just because of what he offered in terms of being able to keep the ball and control the tempo of a football match. That's why it's so sad to see him washed out in Sampdoria. But, yeah, honestly, England did so well to come back from 2-0 to 3-2, and Saka was at the heart of it all. So Arsenal fans will be creaming at that and saying he deserved his England Player of the Year award, even though he definitely didn't, because he was benched more games than he started. But we're not going to get into that. That's just a whole nother thing, you know what I mean? But the Italy game was poor. Giacomo Raspadori's goal, cute little strike, neat little goal. Put the rest, relegated England. They're going to be in Group B now with weaker teams, and you expect them to come back up straight away. But who really cares for the Nation League like that? We're talking about the consequences of this poor campaign and how it's completely derailed their form. And Southgate needs to start taking some risks. He's played it safe for far too long, and he needs to start taking risks. I think that's the essence of what I'm trying to tell you guys here. He's just playing it too safe. When you have players like that, world-class players, you could call them, some of them, that can turn a game on their head, and players that can control a game, then you got to try and do it. This 3-4-3 just doesn't fit. Trent Alexander-Arnold, we get it. He's absolutely incompetent when it comes to defending. Yes, I'm on that side of the defence. He's an incompetent defender. Sure, but he can control a game, from the right back position. He's a special talent. But I think in this 3-4-3 system, he works. But Southgate just loves his defensive solidity, so there's no way he's starting over Reece James or Kieran Trippier, And, that might be peak on the boy, but this is just how it is. If he improves on his defending game, one day he might start for them. He then tried to play one game at CM. One game. Wasn't that great. Didn't give him a chance after that. I felt like he deserved more games there, but there's no friendly matches played like that anymore. It's just Nations League. So I think he should have been given more chances to play there, and to maybe see if he can develop there, because England's central midfield position is not the strongest at all, especially with Calvin Phillips injured. You can see why, even though he barely played for City, he was still selected. Another selection decision that caused controversy. But when you play international football, you want to have consistency. You don't have much time to train with your players. You don't have much time to train with the team and to develop and to coach them. So you want to keep things as simple as possible. And one of the ways to do that is to pick players that you trust, regardless of club form. So Southgate shouldn't have came out pretending he was going to pick players of form when he knows that that's something that isn't feasible and fully sustainable. He picked Tony and didn't play him at all. But England did well to fight back in that Germany game, and it gives us, it gives England a little bit of optimism for the World Cup, because it's like, okay, we're not completely terrible, we're not completely bad. There's still something about us if we get it right. But to concede 3 goals at home, it's not ideal, because Germany aren't. Let's be honest, Germany aren't all that. Now they got some ballers in there. Shout out Kimmich, shout out Sane, shout out Gnabry. You know what I mean? Shout out Havertz, shout out Werner. Nonetheless, it's a really good team, but it's not as good as the teams we've seen in the past, and England should have been having them, and beating them would have been confident, would have been a good thing. And it shows you how much they might have dropped, because the last time England played Germany at Wembley was in the Euros, and they beat them 2-0. So it's fortunate that England aren't quite hitting like they used to hit. You feel me? It shows you that they've actually gone through a backwards progression, and Germany under Hansi Flick have come a long way, and they will continue to get better. And potentially might be dark horses for the World Cup, but they do lack a centre forward. Werner is not that guy. He just isn't that guy. I'm sorry. He absolutely is not that guy. But, he showed in the England game that he could be, He could be that guy. And I think he probably will be starting in that role when the World Cup starts. But England, on the other hand, honestly, should just give up on this 3-4-3, but he won't. It's too late. And we're going to see it potentially not work again, and everyone's going to point to that and say Southgate is done. Now, he's come out and said that the contract extension that he signed has no bearing on his invincibility as a coach, regardless of form at the tournament. So we'll have to wait and see how much that really comes into play. But we all just got to hope that England find something to spark them into life and they start playing good football again. But the key thing they need to improve here is the creativity. You know, the lack of playmaker, like I said. Someone that can control the games in midfield. Even though, you know, Jack Grealish, you could call him that. You could call him that. You could, but you can't quite. For Foden, you could call him that too, but you can't quite call him that. You know what I mean? From deep, nah. Not like Verratti can, not like Jorginho can, not like Pogba could or Kante could, you know. Or the Spanish guys could. Sergio Busquets and co. All in all, it's looking sticky. A little bit sticky to see how things go at the World Cup in Qatar, you know. So looking a bit sticky. But we're just going to have to sit back and watch and see what happens and just hope that something comes into play and something sparks. Because in the Germany game, Mount and Saka coming on did change the game. Mount scored a goal. Saka was involved in all three. It's like, yeah. Now, people might say Saka should start. I don't agree with that. But honestly, I think Southgate needs to just take more risks tactically. This team's good enough to go for those risks and to be successful. But are we going to see him change? Probably not. I think I'm going to stop right here. I hope you guys enjoyed this little rant. You could call it a rant. Little ramble, little chat, discussion, you know, about England, you know. Hopefully they get it right by Qatar, but there's no more games to do that for, so we're just going to have to hope something magical happens. And yeah, see you guys in the next episode.
Mini Laje.